because of her, they were actually going to make a cure. The only catch, it would kill her.
The Last of Us Part 2 is an unrivaled triumph. That's a simple enough statement, but it's probably sent some of you into an uproar. Allow us to plead our case by highlighting the moment that turned The Last of Us Part 2 into a masterpiece. Welcome to Nerdstalgic Gaming. Make sure you subscribe to the channel to keep up with all of our latest video releases. Oh, and obviously prepare for spoilers for both Last of Us games. 2013's The Last of Us is an action-adventure game set in a post-apocalyptic world plagued by the infected. But it's so much more than that. The first Last of Us game marked a shift in a tone for video games across all genres. It was a stern reminder that, yes, games are art. And its critical and commercial success gave way to many more dark and thoughtful releases, including its own sequel. Writer-director Neil Druckmann and co-writer Haley Gross have stated multiple times that they wanted their game to be about empathy. Similar to the themes of the first game, The Last of Us sequel was intended to play on the idea that humanity is complicated.
We let you both live, and you wasted it.
And the right answer to a problem may seem wrong in someone else's eyes, and both viewpoints can be correct. Druckmann said in an interview with IndieWire, "We were trying to find those parallels you're talking about, and to do so in a way where it's not on the nose, but it's still showing you how these characters, under different circumstances, could have been friends." And they delivered. Knowing that fans had grown attached to the characters from the first Last of Us game, Naughty Dog decided to rip our hearts out early in the second installment with the death of Joel.
Joel, f***ing get up!
I did tell you there were going to be spoilers, right?
Joel, please get up! No!
One of the most beautifully complicated protagonists in video game history is brutally murdered in the first couple hours of the sequel by Abby Anderson, a former member of the Fireflies who, if you remember in the first game, were massacred by Joel himself. For this reason, the character of Abby was, let's just say, a controversial addition to The Last of Us Part 2. You play as Abby through a good chunk of the game, and a lot of fans seem to have a problem with playing as a woman who ended the life of their favorite character. Who would have thought, right? To be fair, we've had a game's worth of time to get to know and grow fond of each of these characters, and it's worth mentioning that without the existence of the near-perfect quality of that first game, we wouldn't even be able to make this video. We've already touched on the brilliance of Joel, but you can't talk about The Last of Us without singing Ellie's praises. The hardened little girl brought up in a zombie apocalypse who learns to care for others while becoming a skilled killer. And then there's Joel's brother Tommy.
This place gives him a second chance. Gives us all a second chance.
An equally deep and complicated character who is fiercely loyal to people he loves. Oh, and he just so happens to be a crack shot. And those are just to name a few. So it makes sense that these new characters we're forced to spend time with in The Last of Us 2 don't really hold a candle to our faves. They're on the other side of the conflict. They're the bad guys. And they're not nearly as interesting as the people we've become familiar with in the first game. Except, turns out they are. The Last of Us Part 2 does a great job of showing us how Abby and her group are just like the group we've been following since Part 1. Of course, this is all part of Druckmann and Gross's plan. As you play through the game, you learn that Abby and her group of survivors have their own moral compasses, and are guided by a lot of the same things our first game heroes are: survival, love, and revenge. So when you find yourself playing as Abby, with the aid of her always upbeat best friend Manny, on the quest for a boat to chase after a young boy she's taken under her protection, things get complicated. No surprises there, but this mission is different. This is the lead up to the best moment in the whole game. Maybe even the best moment in the whole series. The moment that turned The Last of Us Part 2 from a great game into a masterpiece. So let's set the scene. You're over halfway through the game. Joel's death has sent Ellie and Tommy on revenge missions. You were helpless while Abby killed Joel. You sobbed through Ellie and Tommy's shared grief. You've experienced Abby's group of survivors as a family while playing as her, and then you've butchered that family while playing as Ellie. You've seen flashbacks from both perspectives and hopefully developed some of that empathy for the other side that Druckmann was talking about. You wanted to protect Ellie's pregnant girlfriend Dina, and you wanted to protect Abby's young charges Lev and Yara from their cult upbringing. So when Lev decides to hijack a boat and head back into dangerous territory, of course you chase after him. Time is running out and there's no telling if Lev is alive or dead, and you just have to make it to the marina to get a boat. But there's one thing standing in your way: an enemy sniper. Thankfully, you have the help of Manny to guide you through the chaos, but this shooter is a threat to you, Manny, and the life of a child you're trying to save. It's a tense bit of gameplay, ducking in and out of cover while the sounds of gunfire draw infected to your location. You're moving through buildings and open areas, hoping your next step away from cover isn't going to be your last. Things get increasingly more desperate until you get one little glimmer of hope. Just get through this door and you'll have a chance at ending this sniper's rampage once and for all. And then the sniper takes out Manny. In an instant, your friend is gone, and you find yourself alone again, facing down a deadly enemy, and there's no time to lose. You have to press forward, it's pouring rain, the music is pounding, you round a corner ready to take on the assailant that ruined your plan, murdered your friend, and nearly killed you. And then all is revealed. It's Tommy. I mean, just wow. It's a perfect illustration of Druckmann and Gross's vision. The whole time you're playing as Abby, you are engrossed in her goal of getting to the marina. Even if you're not a fan of her story arc, you're at least trying to beat the game, right? And this sniper is standing in the way of that. The game has built up this previously unknown sniper as not just a sort of boss battle, but a verifiable threat to your life. Gameplay-wise, this guy has been throwing curveballs at you left and right, forcing you to painfully inch forward through what would otherwise be an easily passed stretch of map. Plus, the atmosphere surrounding the scene is pitch perfect. It's dreary and somber, but you still feel like you're being taken on a high-speed car chase. And story-wise, well, you're playing as Abby. This is the woman who killed Joel, because she felt his death was justified after he killed so many of her friends and family. And who should show up for revenge but Joel's own brother? The man we've seen as a force of good and a valuable member for our team. The man who looked after Ellie when Joel was gone. The man whose sniper skills were legendary. The smooth-talking, morally gray Southern gentleman. And you're forced to fight for your own life because otherwise he's about to kill you, just like he killed your friend. We've never seen his rage directed at us before now, and for the first time, we see him as the enemy. I can't stress enough just how perfect and unprecedented this move was from a video game storytelling perspective. Very few, if any, other games have had the guts to even attempt pulling something like this off. And The Last of Us 2, it did it flawlessly. And if you look at the comments people leave on YouTube videos for this scene, half of them are about how incredible it is, and the other half are admitting that they didn't even realize Tommy was the sniper at all. That means that some players are so caught up with saving their own skin during the fight, they don't even recognize one of the most beloved characters in the franchise. They were just trying to get through those quick-time events so that they could live another day. That blind survival instinct is exactly what Druckmann and Gross were trying to demonstrate, and they did it in such a subtle way that it was barely even recognizable. Sure, there are more obvious parallels between the groups and the flawed worldview on all sides, but those few seconds on the marina do more than any extended flashback sequence. It's a blow aimed directly at your heart in a way that games could only dream of doing. These characters could have been friends, and this conflict is not as black and white as we would like to pretend it is while we're taking down our enemies. And that, my friends, is the moment that turned The Last of Us Part 2 into a masterpiece. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to like this video and subscribe to Nerdstalgic Gaming.